Everyone back from lunch, it looks like. Not yet. Hi, everyone. Good day. Panel here, really exciting. This is a talkative group. A lot of rich content, a lot of diverse experiences. So let's get right into it. I'm Erik Holt. I'm VP of Channels at Optimove. I've been here about 3 years. Really excited for this discussion, right? I think we obviously have a ton of CRM experience up here. Some of us are going to be speaking about multiple experiences that they've had with Optimove. But I think by the end of the session, we really want to focus on how leading brands are implementing customer retention strategies, using their data, but also going a little bit deeper. And I think that's going to be the central theme and the fulcrum of our discussion here today. So before I get started, let's do a quick intro. So Stan, would you like to kind of go forth? I'll read a few things, and then you can provide some background. So Stan is Senior CRM and Loyalty Manager at Betfan. Betfan is a leading sportsbook in Poland. Stan also worked for Displate, which is another Optimove customer, and he's able to share those experiences from there as well. So Stan, welcome. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I guess, yeah. I've been working with Optimove since 2016, so these are my two recent additions to the portfolio, but I had some more experiences. Happy to be here. Hello.
Thanks. Lydian, nice to see you. Lydian Ardrey is Senior CRM and CX Manager for the Betway Group. Betway is a leading provider of innovative and exciting sports entertainment, casinos, esports. Everyone knows Betfan. Lydian, welcome.
Thanks for inviting me. Yeah, so I worked in the past 15 years in the online marketing, and I worked 10 years ago with also Optimove, and then changed brand and work with Optimove again, and I'm glad.
Cool. We'll look forward to hearing some of your experiences here today. And last but not least is Marcel Martins. Marcel is the head of digital at Grupo Soma, and Grupo Soma is a leading women's apparel and fashion brand headquartered in Rio de Janeiro, Marcel. So welcome, sir.
Thank you. I appreciate being here. So I'm from Brazil, and tonight I heard we are going to have some drinks. So we can definitely talk more at night.
Yes, that was a lot of the scuttlebutt was when the bus was going to leave tonight. So let's kick off. I think, we had some rich prep. I really enjoyed it. Again, a lot of tremendously powerful experience up on the stage. But I wanted to kind of encapsulate our panel around a quote. So some of you might know who Roy H. Williams is. He's a best-selling author, a marketing consultant. He's best known for his Wizards of Ads trilogy, if anyone's familiar with Roy. Roy's got a pretty cool quote in this context. I just want to read it a couple times. The first step in exceeding your customers' expectations is to know those expectations. Let me just read it one more time. The first step in exceeding your customers' expectations is to know those expectations. Okay. Sounds pretty simple, right? If I know more, if I collect more data, I'll be better at serving them. Meh. I don't know if that's the right approach, right? More isn't necessarily better. Also, collecting data doesn't necessarily mean you're getting to the insights, right? Collecting raw data, even if it's zero first party, are you actually getting to the expectations that that customer has? And that's the know part, right? It's not knowing the data, it's not collecting it. It's actually processing in a way that you're delivering those insights. Customers rarely tell you what their expectations are, right? Think of the analogy of an old man sending back soup at a deli, right? It's a very angry signal. It's an expectation signal that is unique and distinct. Most of our customers don't provide their expectations that aggressively or that clearly, so we can transition how we're messaging to them. So without those overt signals, what do? How do we use the data to actually know what our customers expect from us, right? And I think that's where we're going to go with the panel discussion today. So with those thoughts, with Roy's quote, Stan, with kind of my opening comments around data versus known expectations, how are you getting into that?
Well, first of all, we don't know our customers' expectations, so the most obvious thing is to ask. We ask it two-way. We ask the customers directly, surveys, data, blah, blah, blah. And there's also the data analysis that we look into. But we've, in both Displate previously, right now in Betfan, I like to quote the book from Nireal, Hooked, and base it on the hooked model, which is looking into the loop a customer works in, believing that in current landscape of how we look at the customers, and you all, I am as well, aware of the fact that you accept cookies. You're expected to be tracked. You're expected the company to know you. So our approach is to somehow fit into that model of what triggers a customer, what actions are taking, what's the reward they're receiving, and how they invest, and fit our work into their habits, build their habits, and work into them. So like TLDR, I think that a customer expectation is to be known and to be recognized. So we fit into those habits, because one of the hardest thing for a person to do is to break their habit, and we cultivate what's already there and find those small little triggers to push them in. So expectation is to be known, in my humble opinion.
And I would say, you could it has to be done correctly, right? Because if you're making that assumption, and that could change over time, so you have to cultivate that as you're moving through. Lydia, how about you, just in relation to Stan's comments and how you guys are doing it at Betway?
No, yes, I totally agree. Like you have to know your customer, and it all starts with data collection and enrichment. But also knowing your customer, you also have to make sure you utilize all the data points you can collect. And I'll start with a quick story, just to transition from lunch and help people. But there is this Asian story I like to tell my team to explain the importance of data and utilizing the data across everything. So there is this king that took several blind men towards an elephant. And he asked his blind men to describe the animal, and they were allowed to touch only one part of the animal. So the first one touched the leg and said it was a tree trunk. The second one touched the tail and said it was rope. And the third one said trunk, and it was, okay, it's a snake. I mean, you get the idea. No one guessed it was an elephant. And to translate this into a business now, for Betway or any other business, for example, gambling, it could start with a reactivation campaign, and you look at the customer lifetime value, and he hasn't made a purchase in a while, a deposit. So you think, okay, I will send an offer, deposit offer. Now I will add some extra bit of data that you may have forgotten. And yesterday, actually, the user made several deposits that got rejected, so you didn't see it. He complained to the customer support, was angry about it. And now you will tell me, do you think it was a good idea to send a deposit offer to the customer? Well, I guess not. But for us, it's not only like aligning with our customer expectation, but we also drive expectations. We also influence them from time to time when we want the customer to look at specific areas of the website, and we offer rewards towards that. But mainly also for responsible gambling. We also want to make sure that we cool off marketing when we think we need to.
Yeah, thanks, Lydia. I mean, Marcel, it's kind of taking it into a kind of fashion brand, accessory apparel kind of place in Rio. How are you guys aligning behind your customers' expectations?
Yeah, so my industry is a little bit different. So the fashion industry comes with great brands, with great branding and great creativity, but with just enough data to put the business running. And when you talk about culture, they are concerned about the personas and understand the humanity part of that customer. When we talk about CRM right now, the industry has changed. What we're doing is not digital, it's marketing. It's digital marketing. And we need data. 20 years ago, well, the marketing persona was the one who understood the most its customer. And right now, we have a lot of variables to put that on an algorithm and understand who is that person behind that purchase. For the fashion industry, our average client buys 2-3 times a year. So what kind of data can I have about that person who only purchased with me 2-3 times? And I have a lot of data before that purchase and how they interact with the website, with the app, with the stores. So it's a cross multi-channel, and we need something that put all that data in one place so we can analyze and treat it different. So in CRM right now, we are not thinking so much about who is that client, but what that customer wants in this journey. So it's more about the journey and their habits, like Sam talk, than what that person really wants.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting segue, I think, into our next area, which is, as you're talking about all the things that you're doing, obviously there's going to be a lot of data created, a lot of insights created. And in our discussion last week, we were talking about the need to balance automation, right? So we're here, Optimove, right, is marketing software. It helps you automate and do your job better. But the downsides and the perils of, Stan, you used the word custodianship. I think last week when we were talking about balancing automation, versus the reality of the human element and strategy. How are you guys looking at that? I mean, your 4 examples, but specifically, Betfan and Displayed. How are you tackling this?
Well, we've started us, I guess most of the people, in looking at automation as a goal. I mean, this is what we need to do with our customers, what we need to do with our journalists. We need to automate them. The thing is that it's very easy to fall into a trap of trying to create a perfect process. And what we've talked about was my comparison for your journey landscape, following with the landscaping into a garden. As Pini said in his presentation, we're going away from assembly line, factory line approach, that this is the perfect process, then you can go and design into a garden approach. It's you plant your ideas, your small processes in different places, and in 2-3 months your garden kind of looks the same, even if you don't do anything with it. But there are those requirements of a custodianship, of going there and being able to flexibly approach each of the strategies you have in an efficient, scalable manner. My dad works in Volkswagen. I was visiting last year this huge assembly line in Poznan. It's a mile-long, gigantic achievement. But imagine each change in that process requires millions of euros of investment. And at Betfan, we had 6 or 7 large streams that's pinned at each point that we thought is relevant. It resulted in 440 different instances of communications. And beating the sunk cost fallacy, because it was a huge investment, I kind of joined Betfan, tear that down to the detriment of the team I'm leading right now, because they put a lot of effort in that, and then scale it down to something that's 30 recurring campaigns that happen. And whenever we need to change it, it's just touch there, touch here, prune the roses, trim the hedges. It works. So automation is not the end goal. It's something to give you more time, and it has to be flexible. Otherwise, nothing you wrote 3-4 months ago will be as relevant as something you were able to write today, especially in sports.
Well, I think that's the key part, right, is if you're setting it and forgetting and you're not reevaluating based on where you are as a business, that would be a massive fallacy. Lydia, Betway, obviously, there's a lot of probably momentum there, talking about how do we automate our experiences. How are you guys tackling this problem of leaning in to the automation but not losing control?
Actually, it's funny because when I started, the automation was not part of their world. And the main concern of people was like, I will lose my job if I have automations. And I think we need to move away from this. We need to move away from being scared of automations or even AI replacing you. You always need a brain. It's just increasing efficiencies, increasing the number of campaigns you do. And then looking at the strategy, which is the color part, rather than the execution. So monitoring everything as well is so important because software or system can break sometimes. So not only the content, but also technically, does it still work? And something that I love also that Optimove has that brought along is you can have an overview of all your automations and understanding and a good understanding of any overlap of the automations. If there is one cannibalizing the other, and if one is actually need to be changed in terms of targeting. And because before we didn't have this, and we ended up discovering through a customer testing that we would send 7 communications in 2 days. But with Optimove, we could prioritize and say, you decide which campaign will go first, and it's very important for us as well.
And have you, at Betway, do you guys kind of have status checks as it relates to automation? It sounds like the rigor is there, but tell the audience how often that might be happening.
Oh, it's like, I mean, the advice is to do it at least quarterly, but every month we task them with some key automation, especially some are very important and need to be checked every month as well.
Yeah. Marcel, how about with you guys? The attractiveness is there, right? The willingness to want to move in that direction is there, and I think it's just with what strategic oversight? How are you guys tackling this?
So Soma has 11 brands, and each brand is a different company from another. So the one that we sell that sells to Europe and US is farmrio.com. You can check it, and that strategy is completely different from a strategy that brand has an AOV of $300, and that's totally completely different strategy from a brand that sells an AOV of $40, $30. And when I look at digital, I'm not specifically CRM. I'm CRM, I'm paid media, I'm technology, etc. And I always ask, where's the money? How big is the prize for us to put an effort on it? And we can have the best team to improve our email performance, and we are going to be attacking 5% of our revenue. But if we understand that, example, guys, the checkout is a page that 100% of my revenue is passing by. If I make a 1% difference, it's going to be 1% more revenue as a whole. That's the human part where that comes in. The automations are a tool. They are great for us to understand, to put the effort and understand what's working or not. But the human part is, where are we going to put the effort, and how are we going to analyze to make sure, okay, let's drive everything to it.
Is that automation, because you mentioned paid, earned, and owned media? It sounds like you cover across. Is there automation across kind of the paid and owned areas as well? Are Grupo kind of looking at in a similar approach as CRM?
Yeah. When we talk about paid media and CRM, they are completely different words. At the same time, I think one drinks a lot of fun from the other. So Meta and Google are the top 5 biggest companies in the world so they have a lot of money invested on GenAI, for example. I think we can drink on what's going to happen to CRM looking at them. So in terms of algorithm, they are going more and more for less segmentation and more algorithm and AI working towards it. and CRM is going to do the same. Right now, we're talking about A/B tests, which is amazing, which we need in a short period of time. We're not going to be talking more of A/B tests and A, B, C, D, E, F, and A for me and B for you, et cetera, et cetera. And that's keep pushing things towards the machine and less towards human, but you still need the human to say, okay, let's test that on that part of the business, and that worked or not, and that's going to drive the strategy next. So the way you're thinking is still in the human part.
Sure. And then obviously the prioritization that's occurring as you're going through that is very demonstrable. Let's transition into a little bit broader of a topic. We're talking about some specific strategies and risks, but we're always looking ahead, right? And it's we're constantly planning, we're constantly changing and tuning, we're constantly looking at things. But when we look ahead at your businesses and how you're not specific to Optimove, right? But how is your thinking maturing, and where does it need to get to in order to capitalize on the advantage that you guys have in the market? Stan, start with you. What's the next 12 months look like?
It depends. It depends on what we will be doing. I mean, the way to capitalize on what we've built already, the way to approach our customers and next steps was. I mean, I really hoped I would be able to come up like this is the strategy you should follow. But last year was for me both at Display and at Betfan, thinking about the philosophy of how to approach certain strategies. Because I mean, I find it that the CRM, or let's say retention loyalty teams, end up being the ones that are most pestering the dev team. Because we always reach the choke point, the funnel. We are constantly in the exploitation phase, and then we come up like, hey guys, we need to do some more. So this led me to believe, and then the strategy that the retention team needs to be the part of the product team. And again, making a segue to the initial presentation of Peony, the not focusing on a single task. What we're doing is to obviously to utilize new tools, utilize AI, utilize our knowledge, but educating ourselves to be always in the constant lookout for more knowledge about the actual product. I mean, Display, for instance, I mean, I don't know if any of you guys are familiar, sells posters printed on metal. It's a cool product. Its main appeal is that though being 2D art, you can pick it up. It's rigid, it's solid. So the retention approach is that you need to have a remarketable product before you even get your first customer. I mean, retention and reactivation begins even before you get someone in your flow. Because otherwise you're doing the holiday scam. I mean, you come in, pay money, never come back. But yeah, that's so. I guess the moment your retention team, your CRM team, knows the products, inside out, you're opening a lot of alleys of how to market it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you just reactively working, whereas you need to be a step ahead of yourself. So.
Yeah, thanks for I think the Display examples really pull that out. Lydia, how about Betway? Just even if you look back 12 months and then you look at what you guys are getting into and in the next year, not Optimove specific. We'll get to that later, but.
Oh, that's fine. I mean, I don't want to repeat what Stan said because it's also like product a lot, technologies. We want to onboard them. We want to have the latest one, the best product. Real-time intervention is very important for us, personalizing every touch point on the website. And we also focused on segmenting tournaments, leaderboards in our gambling world. And we also have sports feed, which is bringing the social element, like social approval. This is an angle we try to explore. and it follows one of the principles coined by Robert Cialdini. I don't know if you've heard, but he worked on like 6-7 principles to increase your conversions. And we also use the reciprocity. For example, in real time, we tend to also offer, for example, free bets or free spins while you are interacting, and it gives you a sense of exclusivity. And when you receive a little something, which is a concept, is you are more inclined to give something in return. And through different testing, we've seen that with offers like that, like free bets, we will get more deposits than saying you deposit before you get the reward.
Right. Marcel, to take it into a non-gaming area, some of the challenges for you, and you have multiple brands, maybe less intense in terms of the immediacy of the actions that your consumers are taking, right, versus a Betway, but still critically important nonetheless. So how does the audience kind of look at what you guys are doing, the important stuff that you've really been focused on to drive your business forward?
Yeah, when you have a high AOV, the less percentage of your clients brings the most percentage of your revenue. So in Animale, which has an AOV of $500 approximately, 3% of the clients bring 40% of the revenue, and that's huge. And that's where the part that we were talking before, the human part comes in, because I can spend like $1,000 on each campaign to active one client because he buys $30,000 a year. I can do that with that segment. And how do I make a flow that I'm gonna treat that segment separately from the rest of the revenue that I'm looking at? That's definitely something that we are working right now. So that client can't have the same customer service as someone who is buying one time a year. She's coming 16 times a year on the store or digitally. That person needs to be heard in a human perspective and not only with the computer. So maybe I have to put a journey that she's going to, my focus is going to be to throw that customer who is on my website to the stores after, because the stores are going to have a human talking to her. It's going to have a salesperson who is going to bring her and take some champagne and going to sit and talk to her and really improve that connection. So and that's for Animale. When we're talking about Erik, who has an AOV of $25, it's completely different approach. And that way, I need to be much more focused on omnichannel, on the pickup, not for her to talk with the client, with the salesperson, but to accelerate her to pick up the dress and then buys another thing.
And are you using paid media again when you're talking about the signals? You're talking about that 3%. You're using these paid media channels as well. You're overseeing the entire suite. I think strategically, right? You're able to,
which is hard. Yeah, which is very hard because when you do pay media to active target 3,000 people, it's way different approach of targeting 300,000. And that's kind of an issue because we need to go out from our more digital ways of influence the purchase and go to something more physical, to something more experience in the real world. And but that's fashion. Fashion is complicated. We have 99% of our SKUs are completely new every 6 months. So I don't have a good history on how that jacket is really gonna sell because I never did it. I have never done it. So we need to have some strategy to read the customer's journey towards it and understand, okay, it's just like that one that we sold 2 years ago, so that item is going to go well with that other item. And that's just hard.
How big's your team, Marcel?
How big is my team? For 11 brands, so 250 besides the CS, who is more 200.
Oh.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that. I guess last but not least, Optimove. We're here for a very specific reason today. 3 of you have been using it, some longer than others. Stan, I think, has had 4 experiences as a customer of Optimove. Is it more?
I mean, it's 4 or 5 because at once it was 2 companies at once. So yeah, but
Okay.
it's pretty long.
So a lot of experiences using the tool, a lot of history, probably some growing pains, probably a lot of successes. What are your suggestions about, how do you deploy Optimove the right way? I think around some of the spirit that we've been talking about, right? Balancing automation specifically.
I mean, it's Optimove is a tool. And like purchasing Photoshop does not make anyone immediately an effective graphic designer, getting Optimove, despite getting great out-of-the-box features that's exceedingly improve what we're able to do, I think that the proper way of implementing Optimove is firstly to really know your data points and really know what you're about to do with it. I mean, going back to what we were talking about, automation, different approaches, strategy and philosophy of doing this, Optimove has this wonderful feature of like ingesting enormous amount of data and then converting it to actionable insights. And the other one, which it's pretty simple, but it's one of the ones I really like the most, is drafting campaigns. Because what we were talking about, I mean, gardening, landscaping, looking at what your landscape looks like. At some point, there's really a limited amount of things you can do for your customers. I mean, retention, reactivation, different kind of incentivization, be it for e-commerce a discount or free bets, free spins, whatever. There's this. I mean, let's agree, it's 10 different things you can do. So at some point, you could prepare a menu of things to do, ready to launch campaigns. You go into the office, log into your program product, look at what happened, say, okay, we need to do this for that group, that for that group, change this, adjust that. And with the drafts prepared and then people working on them, you kind of launch them by lunchtime. And then you have the rest of the day focusing on really important thing of what's going to happen tomorrow.
Right.
So for me, Optimove is a tool to save time, but for it to save your time, you need to kind of approach it with as Michelangelo approaches a chisel. I mean, I could just break this table. He did Pieta, so kind of learn the tool, use it as a tool, and then that's like, I guess the most important thing.
Leanne, how about you?
Yeah.
Are you looking at it the same way? You have a little bit of a different timeline with Optimove, but what draws out?
Yeah, so we worked heavily on the integration stage, and it's like we said at the first point, adding as much data as possible, and also in real time if you can.
Was that a challenge for Betway as it was getting started, just relative to how you guys ongoing?
It is. I think it will be a challenge. It's a challenge itself when you have to talk with product teams, right? But you need to overcome that challenge. It's the most important part because with what Optimove can do, you need to make sure you can inject as much data as possible. But there is also a second part of that is once you have all this data, you can explore, you can analyze, and I really strongly advise that you look at the data. It's also a reporting tool. And it's quite useful. And once you've got all this data in mind and you created your beautiful segments, you need to activate. And to enable the full power of Optimove, I would say just connect as many channels as you can. So you mentioned the display, the social, but it's also all about the website now. We are more acting in real time. We've seen now OptiX, OptiLive, and these are very key important tools I think that we will work on, and it's just segmenting your website as much as possible as well.
Marcel, how about you? I think, again, the power of Optimove relative to how you're running it, I think multi-brand challenges and perspectives there is probably interesting to the audience. How about you?
Yeah, we are on one brand with Optimove, and we are testing it to roll it out to the rest. And the fashion industry is that the customer is one day at the store talking to a salesperson, the other day is an app, website, WhatsApp, SMS, and I can keep going. And so the first thing that most was the shining of their eyes was to orchestrate everything and to orchestrate all the channels. So the client that is complaining on the CS is not receiving the discount promotion that we are doing with the email. And that was really good for Animale, for example, that has a huge AOV. And so that's the first one. But when I look at Optimove and say, okay, here's the cash, is when we talk about the different clusters that we can do and understand what's working or not. For instance, we have a cluster that can change weekly or daily based on if you already bought or not in that specific collection that we just launched. And we have another one that is, are you one of the persons that is on that specific group that is the VIP of the VIP of the VIP? And that's not going to change for, I don't know, 6 months, a year. And I need to work completely different in different approach and different analysis on each. And when I don't have everything integrated and understanding what's at the timing that I need to check everything, it was a huge mess. So Optimove really helped us to put the value on each stream, so we can take a look and put more focus if any indicators goes down and we don't understand why.
Yeah, it's power. I mean, in some ways, we're all, and I'm sure there's similar experiences here. The power of Optimove with the technology for the marketers, but it's saving you time to do the truly strategic things that you don't even know exist. And that's the promise, I think, of good CRM, right? The payoff. Guys, we're out of time. Looks like we made it. It's great to speak with you, and thanks for sharing your experiences.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks. When we come back here on the Heptagon stage, Costas from Kaizen Gaming, will be talking about their CRM marketing journeys. And in Triangle Hall, on the lower ground floor, we will have a deep dive into Optimove's marketing attribution tools. See y'all.